Obviously, Nazi zombies is a great idea. Zombies are scary, and Nazis are the perfect bad guy. Now, the problem with Nazis is that their entire system was destroyed and discredited so utterly in 1945 that it has taken 75 years for people to be lunacy enough to want to follow it today in large numbers. And even today, when the few nuts that want to be neo-Nazis try to lead a march or something, they're always heavily outnumbered by protesters and police. So, the Nazi ideology is still doomed for the foreseeable future, and good riddance. And don't feed me any nonsense about how Antifa or Trump or whoever is just like a Nazi, because they're not. They're not necessarily good, but that's not the same as being a Nazi. I always hate it when people use the word fascist as a random insult, as though fascism has no actual meaning economically, socially, and politically, which it does. It doesn't just mean you're bad, because, if I say you're a fascist, you are bad because you're a fascist, but it's not just another way of saying you're bad. Okay? It's a specific kind of bad. Anyway, but if we have undead Nazis, the advantage for us as a filmmaker is now we can have actual Nazis in the modern era who are still a threat. I guess that's the appeal. Now, for some unfathomable reason, most of the Nazi zombie movies feature underwater Nazis. I got no idea why this is the case. Also, as you'd probably expect, the underwater Nazi zombie genre is pretty terrible, even for zombie movies, which already tends towards terrible, terrible movies. And I am speaking as a guy that loves zombie movies, but I know. Anyway, the zombie movies are almost as bad as the worst of all zombie movies, which are Confederate zombie movies. Yes, those exist. So let's talk about this weird little genre. We'll go through the films kind of in the order they were released. The first underwater Nazi zombie movie was in 1977. It was also the best of these movies, although it had the bad title of Shockwaves. In retrospect, maybe the title was a pun on the word waves, which is sort of dumb because the zombie attacks in it mostly are inland in rivers and swamps and not in the ocean. Also, they aren't really zombies in the normal way. They do show up in the ocean too. The basic plot is that a ship with some people show up on this desolate Caribbean island, and lo and behold, it's a former Nazi base, which is nuts on the face of it. I mean, the Nazis wanted to spread their evil worldwide, but they didn't really have foreign bases. Though come to think of it, now I think in this movie, the Nazi zombies arrived in a ship or a sub or something. You'd think I'd remember, because I just watched this movie for the third time a few months ago, but really the background plot didn't really impress itself into my memory. Even if they came in a ship, the idea is stupid, because if the Nazis made super soldiers, by the way, the Shockwaves zombies get their power from their cool black sunglasses. How adorable is that, right? Anyway, why would they ship their super soldiers overseas? Surely they'd use them for an attack on some vital point, like keeping the Russians away from the Führer bunker or saving the city of Aachen from the Americans. That was the first German town to be occupied by the Allies, so they were really upset about it. Those were important military goals, at least, to the Nazis. But I guess maybe it's stupid to expect a film company to know anything about the military. I mean, their movies kind of prove they don't know anything about computers or economics or politics, so I expect better from what they know about the military. I admit there are a few exceptions, like Mel Gibson usually gets it right in military movies as a director. Maybe he has good advisors, Anyway, the zombies, well, definitely undead in Shockwaves, are not traditional zombies. They don't want to eat your flesh or anything. They don't seem to be able to spread their virus. They're creations of mad scientists, and kind of neat and refreshing, they're murderous because they're Nazis, not because they're zombies, which is cool. They also seem to be intelligent, not mindless, so they don't seem to be able to talk, leave their tongues with it up. So there's that. Now, the best thing about Shockwaves is that Peter Cushing and John Carradine showed up for it. I remember from the Blu-ray commentary that as the director and his guys were driving Peter Cushing from the airport to the film site, they drove past an IHOP. And Peter wanted buckwheat pancakes, which I guess are hard to find in the USA in the UK in the 70s. The director, damn him, didn't stop. He wanted to get right onto the filming. Here's poor Peter Cushing. He's old and sick. He just lost his wife. He was grieving, and he just wanted to get his part over and done with. Let the man have his damn pancakes. Jeez Louise. So now I hate the director. But I also remember the director tried to give John Carradine orders and instructions, and John Carradine basically stomped on him and saying,
I have done this role dozens of times. I don't need your advice or assistance.
Which is true. Anyway, Cushing and Carradine do their parts fine because they could sleepwalk through a film like this one. I think Cushing was only there for like 2 or 3 days and John Carradine only 1 day. That was kind of par for the course for him on one of these movies. But they still added class to this movie. Now, I know I said this was the best underwater Nazi zombie movie, but that's not the same as saying it's good. It's just that the others are even worse. So, Zombie Lake. This is infamous. This is a French film from 1981, filmed by Jean Rollin, who has a lot of fans. Now, in my opinion, he has done one truly good movie, The Grapes of Death, which is about infected wine. It's kind of a zombie movie too, but they aren't underwater, they aren't zombies. But anyway, Jean Rollin also did a couple of okay movies, like Living Dead Girl, and then he did a ton of really bad movies. Now, Zombie Lake, as it happens, is even bad for Monsieur Rollin. Essentially, there's a bunch of Nazi zombies in a lake near a French village. For no apparent reason, the zombies suddenly activate and start killing people. They don't seem to eat them. Mostly they just want to drink their blood. Now, these Nazis were originally killed by the village people. Not those village people. The French resistance who were here in this town. So I guess there's a revenge plot involved, maybe. There's a completely crazy subplot, which it turns out the commander of the underwater Nazi zombies, when he was, not a zombie yet, had an affair with a French woman, a collaborator, right? And they had a daughter. So this is especially crazy because the show clearly is taking place around 1981, which is when the movie was released. But the daughter is only about 8 years old. So that would set the movie in 1953. But it's so clearly the 80s. I mean, the daughter should be like, 25, 30 years old. There's even a bonding montage where the Nazi zombie dead walks around with the little girl and doing fun things with her, It's crazy. Anyway, the film is also amazing for terrible, terrible effects. You can see the sides of a swimming pool in many underwater scenes. There's a zombie bleeding from its arm, and you can see the hose sticking out from under her sleeve with the blood coming from it. There's one woman who gets bit on the right side of her neck, and then when they carry off her corpse in a stretcher, it's the left side of the neck where the wound is put. It's so sloppy that looking for faults in the production is like a major obsession among viewers. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun finding them. Like looking for spots on the zombies where the green makeup wore off. The makeup only goes to like the wrist, and there's arm color or down to the neck. Then it's just that sort of stuff. Anyway, there's 2 actually versions of Zombie Lake. In one, it's total frontal nudity, very French. The other one, they wear bathing suits. I'm not sure if you can still get the bathing suit version. Maybe it's all nudity now, but at least So that is Jean Rollin's Zombie Lake, which is famously one of the most terrible movies of all time. And it's a terrible movie in the sense that it's super entertaining and fun to watch, but terrible. So now we're going to go to a director who's even worse than Jean Rollin. This is the Spanish filmmaker Jess Franco. Now, Jess Franco worked on 173 films over a 54-year career. That means he was churning these suckers out at an average rate of more than 3 a year. So quality was probably not his most important goal on a movie, right? Now, a lot of the movies are the kind that I assume even like you guys and me aren't interested in. Basically, crappy soft porn stuff like Red Lips of the Saddest Erotica or City Without Men or 99 Women or if you want porn, there's I guess better sources, Anyway, Tim Lucas is a well-known movie critic who mostly likes the same films I do. But he has a weak point in his head, which he really likes Jess Franco, and I can't figure it out. In one of his essays, Tim says, "The only way to truly understand Jess Franco is to see all of Jess Franco's movies, because only then do you see the subtle interplay and communication between the different movies as they play off against another." Holy smokes, Tim, that's a pretty fancy way of saying that Jess Franco even steals from himself. And it's tough enough to sit through one of Jess Franco's turgid, badly filmed potboilers. The thought of sitting through 170 of them curdles my blood. Anyway, Jess Franco was originally hired to write and direct Zombie Lake. He wrote a plot outline, then they dropped him from the project and they hired Jean Rollin to finish the job. That's where he got Zombie Lake. But apparently, Jess Franco had underwater Nazi zombies on his mind. So the next year, 1982, he releases Oasis of the Zombies, which pulls off the fairly neat trick of having underwater zombies in the North African desert. Now, they're Africa Corps zombies, which, are still, I guess, Nazi zombies. Of course, this means their weakness is that since the Oasis only has one single pool of water, you know where the zombies are coming from. At least in shockwaves, in a swamp, the zombies could come from anywhere. Anyway, the plot involves people who are looking for lost gold or something. I guess the gold is cursed and the zombies are here due to the curse. I felt kind of cursed watching this stuff. I did learn one really interesting thing, which is that underwater Nazi zombies chitter like chipmunks when they're out walking around. I'm sure you'll find that fact useful. You hear chipmunks when you're in the desert? Watch out. In the end, while Jess Franco managed to keep his special effects a little less obvious than Gene Rollin, the movie isn't that much better than Zombie Lake. I guess I could admit that I liked it as a guilty pleasure. Now that ends pretty much the short genre of Nazi zombie movies in a sense, but there's more. Now I'm stretching it a bit with this next movie from 1985. Hard Rock Zombies, because not all the zombies are Nazis, and they don't really spend any time underwater, but hey, they're Nazi zombies, so hard rock. First of all, let me just say that the title of the movie is a big fat lie. The music is not hard rock, at least by my standards. It's more like soft ballads. I mean, I know it's 1985, so like heavy metal wasn't as much of a thing, but we still had hard rock. I mean, we had Black Sabbath and we had Ozzy Osbourne and we knew what hard rock was, right? This isn't that. This is like soft ballads. But, I guess movie makers, remember I said earlier they don't understand the military? I guess they don't know music either. Anyway, the basic tale is supposed to be this lame band. I mean, they're supposed to be a cool rock band, but man, they suck. Anyway, they wind up at a strange old mansion inhabited by some dwarfs, one of whom wears an SS uniform, and there is a lady in the mansion who is a werewolf. Oh yeah, the guy in charge of the mansion is actually Adolf Hitler hiding out from the Allies. None of these are zombies at the moment. Anyway, the Nazi refugees kill the band members, and then everyone gets resurrected by a magic voodoo song on a cassette tape recorder, and there's a final zombie showdown with Nazi zombies and the hard rock zombies and a bunch of other zombies. And I'm probably making it, I may not have made it sound very good, but I'm probably making it sound better than it is because it's not good. But if you value movies that are completely insane, this is completely insane. I can't possibly make it sound as bizarre as the actuality. Here is one single example of how crazy this movie is. This is one throwaway scene. So there's some people who are not yet zombies, and they're hiding in a building. Actually, I think it's a recording studio, and there's zombies outside. And so the people inside are trying to figure out how they can escape the dread zombies. And they work out that these zombies want to eat your brains, kind of like in Return of the Living Dead. They don't really want to eat your brains, but they do eat your... So anyway, the people inside say, maybe the zombies attack you by attacking your head because they're afraid of heads. This is the kind of theory the movie has. So if we have heads, they'll be afraid of us. So they get the movie posters and stuff off the wall and make big placards of them. And they go out guarded from the zombies with 3 foot by 4 foot posters of like Marilyn Monroe and John Wayne. And the idea is the zombies will be so afraid of these giant heads, they'll run away. And, I mean, that's an idea they have in the movie that someone thought was cool enough to put in. So there you are. Okay, moving on. Now, a friend of mine wanted me to include Dead Snow as an underwater Nazi zombie movie. I have my doubts. It's 2009, and I mean, it's about under snow Nazi zombies. I mean, I guess snow is made of water? And they do function a lot like the underwater ones. I mean, they attack from ambush, they lurk unseen, that sort of thing. It is by no means a good movie, but you know what? If you're comparing it to stuff like Oasis of the Zombies, Dead Snow starts looking pretty good. It did so well that it spawned a sequel, which I have not yet felt, impelled to see. But it does inspire me to briefly talk about a movie that I quite like, which is only vaguely related to these, which is namely Frankenstein's Army. I like it because I always like a good Frankenstein movie. I am resentful that in the Japanese movie Frankenstein vs. Vampire Girl, the Vampire Girl won because I always am rooting for the Frankenstein monster. Anyway, this movie takes the idea of Frankenstein and runs it with it to extremes, and that's always also fun for me. The monsters are underwater. It's hard to argue that they're actually zombies. I mean, they're literally Frankenstein monsters. I mean, I know the Frankenstein monster is made of dead body parts, but I still think he's not quite the same as just a zombie. Also, the Frankenstein army, though the idea is that Dr. Frankenstein is making them to win the war for the Nazis. It doesn't seem like they'd be that effective in modern war because most of his monsters are only good at hand-to-hand combat. And those few that have ranged weapons don't seem to be able to don't have much of a range. Of course, the movie takes place in an underground compound. You know why? They're cheap to shoot in. So the Russian heroes are stuck in close quarters with the monster, which is, of course, to the monster's advantage. But I imagine if these monsters, instead of, fighting you in an underground compound, were slowly plodding across a snowy field in an assault towards the Russian defense line, it'd be kind of hard on them to survive the hail of bullets and mortar shells they'd meet. But that's not the point. The point is, it has cool monsters, and there's Nazis of a sort, and they are loosely related to zombies, in my opinion. Anyway, I also didn't want to finish this without listing at least one actually good movie that I liked that you might want to check out. Maybe you won't like it, but, oh well. I also will give you a thumbs up for Shockwaves from 1977. If you only ever see one underwater Nazi zombie movie, let it be Shockwaves. Like me. Sign up, subscribe to me. Get notifications if you like. And remember to check out my website where you can get awesome things like this right now. Thanks.